Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special interview today with the MLO Bros live in downtown Youngstown Studio. Youngstown's talk channel is the new thing. Youngstown radio is coming to an end here soon. Not a lot of local options.
They got rid of freaking Rivers.
They got rid of Dan Rivers. Ron Verba, I think, is the only one left in local talk news in the afternoon. But we have a very, very special guest today. Luke, you want to take over?
Yeah, sure. So Al Cutrona, Senator Al Cutrona.
Yes, sir.
What is it? What district are you? I get so confused.
33rd district.
33rd district. And how long have you been in office for now?
So I was in the House prior to the Senate. So collectively, it's been about 5.5 years.
Okay, so the House, and then you remember you took over somebody's spot, right? When Ruley switched, or what was it?
Yeah. So what happened was my predecessor had passed away. I was appointed back in 2020.
Okay.
And then I sat in that seat until 24. And then when Ruley went for Congress, there was a vacancy for his seat. And so I was appointed for that.
So you haven't been elected yet then?
I have. So it was a really unique thing that happens in Ohio law. Like we actually had to really look it up because it doesn't happen. It never really happened in this part of the state. Because of how it happened with his term, I had a special election that had to occur. So there was a special election
I remember
this November. So I did run. I was elected, but it's just to finish out the remaining 2 years of his term.
So you have another this year and then next.
So 26, I'll be back on the ballot.
Okay.
And then that'll be a full 4 years. So the benefit that I have is that the people will have me. I could be in there for 10.5 years.
Which isn't normal because normally there's term limits.
There's 8.
Okay.
It's 8 years. So you get that little extra time. So now I just know where the bathrooms are on the Senate a little bit sooner than I would.
Yeah, right. Wow. All right. So I'm looking at my phone every now and then because I actually prepped today. I wore sleeves. I was like, I better dress up a little bit, right?
We only have them for a half hour.
Half hour.
So game plan is talk about topics, ask him questions. If you want to call in, 330-595-1600.
You're going to a property tax thing?
Yeah. So they're like right here in downtown Youngstown over at the Cavelli Center, they're having a property. The auditors are putting it on to talk about property taxes, see what we can do to try to lower them for people here in the state of Ohio.
Let's go. Let's go right into that one.
All right. Let's talk.
Like I said, I got questions. Because we talk about this. We've been doing this, a month now?
The early show, yeah.
And we've been covering stuff from school funding, the marijuana laws, to all kinds of stuff. So let's go right into property taxes. They suck.
They do.
They
really do.
And they keep going up. We got hit, and you know this, last year with the adjustment or reappraisals.
Yeah.
And I'm in Poland. Mine went up like $1,000.
Yeah. I have 5 acres out in South Range.
So what do you do for that? Like how do you, because you need the income, you need the property tax to pay for stuff, right? So how do you fix that?
So first off, 1,000% agree. Totally needs revamp. What we're looking at is something that's been in place for like almost half a century.
Okay.
And so what happens is everything piles on top of it. Absolutely need to do something for revenue for a whole host of services, most of which go to our schools.
Right.
But it's tough, right? Because I mean, people are struggling. People on fixed incomes. That's a real concern.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at is, number one, creating transparency. A lot of people don't realize this, and maybe they do, but they don't necessarily realize it when they're in the ballot box. The votes that you make for levies literally affects your property taxes. So when you go and you have the libraries on there, for example, and you vote for it, that's going to, increase your property tax or keep it where it's at.
Yeah, or a renewal.
So, and sometimes they're not even true renewals. They actually increase depending on the situation. So creating a transparency is by far the best thing, right? Let people really choose what they're going for. So I'm working on a bill to actually do that. Hopefully it can go into effect where on your ballot, you would actually see in live time, if I vote for this levy, this is how much my property taxes will increase.
Smart.
If I vote no, this is what it'll do. So
is it going to be in like normal human terms, not the
correct? Not like 1,000. My house is valued at 100,000. Like who? What does that even mean?
We're bankers, and the formula to figure out like a freaking mill and all that other stuff is madness.
Yeah,
madness.
So this instead would just say you pull it up with your driver's license.
Yeah.
Okay, gives you your house. It's whatever. But on the ballot, it's just going to pull up from the auditors, and then from that, it could say, okay, if by doing this renewal, this is where it's going to stay, or it's going to increase it, or if I voted no, this is what it would do. that I think creates the best transparency, so people really see it in live time. And because a lot of times people go in there and they're just like, oh yeah, like, okay, I'll just do this, and they don't realize that there is a legitimate.
Well, if you break it down like that too, you'll be able to get an eye view of the levies that are on there and be like, okay, this is gonna the library is gonna increase my taxes by $30. This is going to increase my tax. You can kind of get an idea.
Yeah.
I'll go for the library this time, but I can't do the police this time or whatever.
And the other problem is, it's like, so when you get off, like the school levies were huge.
Yeah.
Poland, Canfield. You're from Canfield.
Oh, yeah.
And they all failed.
Yep.
And there was so many people, they were doing the right numbers, but they were like warping it. Right.
Yeah.
So like people against it and people for it.
Yeah.
So they'd be like, okay, your property taxes are going to go up $700. That's what they'd say on Facebook. And then be like, what, $700? But then you break it down, divided by 12. They weren't explaining.
Yeah.
And people were getting confused. There was numbers all over the place. And it just
stuck. The problem is, for the everyday weak minds like us, you have to make it 7th grade level of education so that it is dummy proof.
Right.
You really do. Or people are going to.
I would just say this. I mean, I think people are smart, right? We can work through things. They can figure things out. But when you can manipulate numbers, and that's the problem.
Right.
So what I want to do is, let's not try to manipulate. Let's make it very fair. Let's not use terms that are misleading.
Okay.
Let's let people make the decisions. And the House passed a bill that's coming over our way, which creates a little bit more of that with terminology. So we're working on different things. We want to talk about addressing those concerns. There's some talks that have been on there regarding the 20 mil floor. There's been some talks about, what we can do for the aging population. I have something out there that I really think it can work, where you give a 50% reduction if you're 65 and older.
Right.
Because those are the people that have already been paying into it for years, for years. And they should be at least able to afford the opportunity to, frankly, not be kicked out of their home.
Right.
And so let's make it affordable. Obviously, and this is important for the viewers to know, the state does not take a single dime from property taxes. The state, those are all local dollars. In fact, those dollars, when levies are passed across the state actually has to kick in dollars to that. So ultimately, we're all paying for these taxes across the state, because the state doesn't just make its own money.
Then
there are other different types of taxes.
We have a call from she calls all the time. So this is 17. She calls all the time. Let's see here. This will be a good one here.
Hey, caller
17.
Can you hear us? I'll get Joe.
Hey, dude, it's on. Is it? Yeah, that's right. 17. Can you hear us? Hello.
You guys keep talking. I'm gonna get Joe.
Hold on a second, 17. I think we got something wrong with our speakers. So you're not talking about low.
Hello?
Hey, what's up? Hello? 17? 17, we can't hear you.
We're lost without
you. Joe left for 1 second.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear us? I don't think she can hear us. Did I mute it or something?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
What's going on?
I can't really hear you guys. Oh, there it is.
Can you hear us?
17? Okay, now I can hear you. Hey, listen, I have a question about school board meetings. I understand that they're not being video recorded and archived. And hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
All right.
Hey, try calling back, 17. Sorry about that.
And I think we need accountability and transparency, because they're public servants and we need to know what everyone's up to. We can't attend these meetings. And given that we pay 50% of our property taxes to the school district, I think we really deserve that.
All right, cool. Thanks, 17.
We'll answer that right now.
Yeah, I would actually lead off with saying this. I'm in favor of that. Listen, I'm recorded every single day that I go down to Columbus on the Ohio channel. I don't see why, they can't, do something like that where they create that. So, go ahead.
They make excuses.
They say cost.
We could stream from our cell phones,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I've volunteered. We have local school boards. We have local community,
Villages,
townships. Example, Poland Village. Their lawyer interpreted the laws where they're not allowed to record it. So they'll stream it, but they won't have like a recordings,
so that you can't go back and watch it through.
Hanfield does it, Brothers does it, all these other places do it.
I would say this. I think that if there's a will, there's a way. There's a variety of different places you can host these that already have the capabilities available. I think that it's something that creates great transparency, and not everybody can be there. Right. So, you know, so let's allow this so that they could say, hey, no, this is what was said. And this is something that we can go back and maybe you can watch it from, you know, home or wherever.
That's what we all,
and so at least people will be more engaged. We need more engagement from our parents for students. I mean, they should know what's going on. You know, you shouldn't find out about things. Just be great.
Do you have kids?
I do.
Okay. So you know how busy it gets, right? And I can only imagine you're going to Columbus.
He goes to South Range, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So you have kids. They go, I'm so busy in the afternoon. Like we had to move this pod. We used to do 8:30 at night. I had to move it to the morning because kids practice, play, you know, all that stuff. They need to record these things so I can watch. I mean, it's just the only way to do it.
Well, it's the 21st century. I mean, the reality is this isn't, you know, 10, 15 years ago where it would have been, even 5 years ago would have been, you know, a little bit more. It's just everything after COVID is so digitized. And so, you know, I think it's an easy lift. So that's a good comment and probably something worth looking into.
We got another caller. Want to try this again?
Yeah.
This one looks like it's on the marijuana laws. So heads up. Here we go. All
right.
Caller, you are live. Go ahead.
How's it going?
Good, Sam. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, Senator Cutrona, man. I know you're trying to get this 10 years, but we just voted on this marijuana. And then I see you voted with Senator Huffman. So like really to cut down the percentages, the home grow. What, like, why are you doing that, man?
I got you.
All right. Thanks, man. I was going to say that.
I agree. I have 5 acres. What if I want to grow marijuana on my
property? I was going to say that too. I was saying, because this was the one I don't think we're going to agree on very much. So go ahead. What do you got?
I think we will more than anything. So look, real quick, great question. First of all, you know, with issue 2, it's something that's in the Ohio Revised Code that allows us to make changes and tweaks and things like just like any other law.
Okay.
What that Senate Bill 56 does is not overhaul, you know, what was passed in the will of the voters. Actually, the majority of that bill created public safety. It says you can't smoke around children. You keep it X amount of feet away from the schools. It gave opportunities for expungements for people that already had, you know, marijuana related charges. It allowed for that you wouldn't be advertising towards children. There was all these different things in there. And with regards to home grow, the reason why, and this is where it came into it, they brought people in to testify. And as they started testifying, the way it was written, you would one household could have 24 plants. And what that translates to is like 5,300 joints. I don't know who's smoking that much.
Hell yeah.
Listen, and listen, if you are, I mean, Snoop Dogg, if you're out there, you know, but what I would say, the reason why that's a concern from the state is not because I care, anybody cares about how much you're indulging. You create a black market. So the entire purpose that everybody's been saying for years, and half the people or more that voted for it said, oh, we should tax this. We could use this revenue. We can do this. We should have some type of, regulatory overlook on this. Well, what you have done is created a black market. That black market will then usurp it. Right. And then go and sell that. And you don't know what you so that was the purpose for it.
My counter to that would be if it's a legal product, why does it matter? It's the same thing.
You're not allowed to sell it.
Sell corn on the street, but
well, can you? Because you need permits, right? So I would say just like everything else, there has to be some type of oversight. For example, alcohol. You can make your own homemade wine, right?
Yeah.
But the moment you start selling it, that's a problem. So
what if I want to give joints to all my family and friends? Like, you know how you're Italian, you know how that works.
5,300 joints for Christmas.
Looks like you guys are gonna have a very lively Thanksgiving. I hope you're cooking for plenty. So look, at the end of the day, we're just trying to look at this on a very practical matter. Like, first of all, most people, and this is stuff that I heard during the committee process. It's difficult to grow. Yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, I could throw some seeds down. I could do this. It's more complicated. It's not just like growing some tomatoes.
Correct.
It's very complicated. I I think once people start that process, they would say, oh, this is a lot more difficult to produce this and that and to maximize it and do all these things with it. But if you're creating a black market, you're usurping the entire process. Listen, that's the same argument that could be made regarding gambling, sports gambling. We legalized sports gambling. I voted for that. But at the same time, we had to make sure that the taxes were low enough that we didn't encourage a black market for it. Because if you do that and you create a black market, that also means you might be a great guy that's giving it out to your friends and family, which is fine. What about the person that's selling it on the streets now and they're putting it and lacing it with, Lord knows what? So, the fentanyl is a serious issue, and we're seeing that line up in all kind of stuff. So it's a safety measure. It's not to take away the will of the voters. The voters at the same time, if they, we have to have some type of back and forth where we can put some oversight into it when we pass laws, but we can change it. Listen, liquor laws, our permits on those change all the time. We include it, we get more expansive, we take changes. Same thing with tobacco. It's a very common thing.
Is there a limit on like making your own wine? Is there anything like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's certain stuff with barrels. We actually expanded it in recent time for making homemade wine, but it really comes down to the selling of it, which is a concern. So you could make wine, but you can't just go out there and start selling on the street.
What about, and I have some friends that are elected officials in a couple different cities. What about the tax allocation and it going back to the state?
So great. All right, let's clear the air on that.
Clear
it. It is going to be clearer than the smoke that it'll be out there for those
Megan's
53.
commenting about that too. So we'll cover that right now.
Because we keep hearing right now it goes to the local towns, like Struthers in Austintown, for example, where I know those people. And they actually said, hey, you got to ask him these questions.
I love it.
You probably guess who they are.
Yeah, no. And I would tell you this.
Yeah.
I listen to my constituents. I listen to the people that are in my community. The people voted for that, right? The Senate Bill 56 had that provision in there. I spoke up in caucus and said, listen, I can't support something like this if it's going to take it away from my locals. I said, it's unfair.
Right.
Austintown allowed it. Struthers allowed it because of the intention of getting this revenue. Let's keep it local. Why are we taking? I heard from constituents that said, hey, this is a problem. I said, okay, great. Well, let me go to bat for you.
Okay.
That was actually taken out of the bill.
So it's gone?
It is out of the bill. It was never voted on with that. So it is out of, that's why I said, I want to clear the air.
The main concern.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like there's a lot of stuff that it gets introduced and sometimes it's a starting point. Like I've introduced bills and I'm like, I know that it's not going to go anywhere with how it's written right now, but you got to start somewhere. You don't want to, I mean, listen, you guys are in the banking industry, like same thing with homes. I mean, right. You go to put an offer in real estate. I mean, you have to have something to negotiate with. And so that was the start of it. They were more concerned because the governor wanted to give specific allocations, which if that revenue ceased, the state, you guys, the taxpayers would have to come up with that. So we were saying, okay, well, maybe we would put some guardrails. Maybe we can do this. And then ultimately we said, look, let's just not deal with it. Leave it for the locals right now and tackle something.
Do you have another concern was, will you guys have a say on where that money's going to go to in the townships
So the way it was written, and this is why legislation is important to go through the committee process.
Right.
It's great to involve the people when they do ballot initiatives, and I think that's also has a great value to it. But the committee process would have vetted this. There was really never a mechanism for the money to go to anywhere. So we have to make a change so that the townships can even receive it.
Okay.
Just the way that it was written.
Has it gone out yet? Because I know the state was holding on to that money.
So everything's still in limbo. Like there hasn't been no change,
been no distribution,
and part of that is because there's no way to give the money to them because the way it was written. So we're trying to go through that right now. That bill, Senate Bill 56, had passed. It went over to the other chamber. It's sitting there right now. I don't believe there was any changes on the House version in the operating budget.
Okay,
so those are the things that you got to watch. Is the operating budget? A lot of stuff goes in there, and people are like, "Why'd you vote for this?" I'm like, that bill is literally 10,000 or 15,000. I mean, literally, it is huge. And so, there's going to be things that you love and things that you don't like. So those are the times you got to watch out for.
Why can't we, because this is always my question, why can't we why does it have to be this massive document? Why can't it be a single thing? Hey, we like that. We don't like that. You listen to your constituents, boom, on to the next one. Single thing.
So when
to the next one.
And that's typically what it is with most bills. Until we call them Christmas tree bills at the end of the General Assembly around Christmas time. They start getting loaded up with all kind of stuff.
Just to get it done.
To get it done as you're rolling through. But what you're referring to, so when you have the state operating budget, it's just naturally going to be huge. Why? Because you're covering the entire state's operations for departments, funding for a variety of different. It's just going to naturally, and then a lot of times you're re-referencing the code. It's not actually changed, but they have to re-reference it for legal purposes to make sure that it's directly talking about this and that you don't inadvertently create a disaster. So
change something.
Yeah. You didn't reference it. Like a lot of it is not because we're not loading it up with a bunch of like just randoms like pork.
Right.
It's just that we have to put that in there. Now, what happens is you have to get to, in the House, for example, you have to get to 50 votes to pass something, right? So you might have to say, hey, you have a member that needs something in Northwest Ohio for XYZ that they've been fighting for. And they're like, I'm not going to support this unless I get that. It's like, okay, you need to get the vote on. He's fighting for his district, help him out, right? So you're going to get some of that stuff. But for the most part, it's just bigger because you're covering literally every agency in the state. You're covering an immense amount of property. I mean, you're covering
everything.
Yeah, funding. I mean, everything is tied to that.
We got another call. We're just going all. This is like rapid fire today.
Yeah.
We're trying to get. Here we go.
Like 10 minutes left too.
All right. Hey, Allison, what's going on?
Hi, I'm calling about, it kind of goes along the lines with the school board and communication and looking back on what's going on in the schools. I am researching on the state board website and also on our school website of what principals and administration has to communicate to the parents, how quickly they need to do so, and what they're supposed to be communicating when things are going on in the schools.
Is that a rule you're saying?
Yes, there's nothing stating what they have to communicate. So at my children's school, we are having a big issue with communication of what comes over to the parents when situations are occurring, things that parents think that they need to be informed about. Ambulances coming. A couple weeks ago, we had a school issue outside where a tree fell. 5 kids got sent to the hospital. I live really close to the school. 5 ambulances got sent, and we never got any form of communication from administration telling us what was going on.
I'm going to tell you, we could talk about this. I mean, that's a good question for Al, but we had the same problem at Poland before we got our current superintendent, who now texts, emails, and sends out a call when the cops are called, when something happens, power's out. That's going to fall on your superintendent and your principals
and your administration.
And you, the people, have to hold them responsible. That's the only way you're going to be able to do it, because we had the same exact problem. This is probably 3-4 years ago when we first started on the MLO Bros, and we hammered Poland.
Yeah, you have
hammered
to
them.
Communicate on everything Canfield and different Canfield community groups to create your own transparency and explain to everybody what's going on, and then use that to demand that the school be more transparent with what's going on and apply pressure so that they listen.
I'm going to give you the best advice. Go on Facebook and follow Superintendent Craig Hockenberry. So he's the Poland superintendent.
And see what he's doing.
And watch his Facebook page as a way to communicate, because the guy before we had never used Facebook, never used social, never used anything. That is
now. And how come there is no actual ruling for the current times that we're living in? Yeah. Because I see a lot of it's up to the discrepancy of the school, up to the superintendent, up to the principal. So how can you regulate when it's up to their discretion? Because their discretion is not the same discretion as other people. So how is there no state regulations of A, B, C? This gets told, this gets told, this gets told. How come there's no to hold absolute accountability? Because I can go on social media all day and complain and ask, but there's no, this is what we require you to do as a member of this school.
All right, we'll cover that. Thanks, Allison.
So Allison,
thank you so much.
So Allison,
bye-bye.
So Allison, I would say this, you don't want the state to step in for every single thing and tell every single school what to do. First of all, for multiple reasons. One is you're never going to cover it all. And then number 2, every school district's different. Number 3, you want to keep it local. You want to be able to go and talk to, first of all, you can vote out school board members, school board members, and the select the superintendents. I mean, there are opportunities and ways for them to get involved locally. You want it to be a local issue because every issue is going to be different. You're never going to be able to cover it all. And the moment you start having the state step in, we tend to like just overdo. It's just like when the federal government steps in, it's going to be too broad.
No offense. something like that, we don't want the state involved.
Yeah, correct. That's exactly right.
Because you're going to just cause more. No,
And
you're
then
going to cause more problems.
That's what.
Yeah.
Listen, the more we're involved in your lives, the more problems that are going to be created.
And then
I'll be the first to admit that.
That happens with Poland Village because then, like, they're notorious for this, where they have rules in place and they just interpret it in their own way so that they can finagle the system to do. So you have to, honestly, I think less rules. You pressure your school systems that you're living in into doing what the community wants by saying, hey, you either do this or we will vote out the school board, or just
I mean, I said it again. I feel somewhat responsible. Now, Craig's awesome.
Yeah.
But before Craig at Poland, there was no communication. Remember that?
Right.
We hammered them.
Right.
I mean, we had the school board members calling us, you guys need to lay off. You hate to do that, but you have to, because it's the only way they're going to listen. For instance, you have a kid that goes to South Range talking about pressuring the schools. Did you hear what happened last night?
So, yeah, actually I did. So it was kind of interesting. First of all, it was terrible what was happening with the schools.
Let me set it just in case everyone was living under a rock. South Range last week had made an announcement that the superintendent had decided to not welcome back the IEP,
about 13 of them,
open enrollment students for the 7th and 8th grade because they weren't going to hire a new special ed teacher.
Correct.
So
specialist.
Yeah. As of last night, they had announced they had backtracked and they're going to hire a teacher,
specialist,
and it's got to be because of the pressure from the community.
What do you think?
So
about
go
that?
ahead.
So I would tell you this. First of all, the moment that I heard about it, because I had gotten some calls, I immediately called up school board members, immediately talked to Jared, the superintendent. And I said, look, I need a conversation with you guys. I got to figure out what's going on. Because at first, people were saying, and on social media, which you can never truly use social media, it's a funding issue. Talk to your state reps and talk to your state senators. And so now I'm like, well, wait a second. We haven't passed the budget yet. Like, what do you mean that it's a funding issue? So I called. They said, no, it's a hiring issue. I said, so then hire somebody else. Right. And you guys are, you guys have the cash flow for it. And we have the operating, but like, what's going on? So we talked about it, and there was a discrepancy on like, well, we don't know if we're able to do this because of open enrollment, that there might be some legality issues. I said, gotcha. Well, we're going to do this. I said, I will change the law and make it very specific so that we can, allow for this to happen, so that you can get to do this specifically for IEP, people that have already been in the school district for years. Right. So they don't have to up and root. And so we were going back and forth. Actually, we spent a ton of time on it.
Did you really?
My office did. Awesome. Yeah. Because we were ready to rock and roll with the operating budget. And then just the other day, they said, hey, no, we're going to be able to go through there and hire. And that got on the 3rd. Was that yesterday?
Yesterday. Yeah.
So then they released that. So I was happy to see that. I'm glad that they obviously were able to go through with legal and figure out like how they can do it, make it work. So
I was blown away by the fact they were saying they were able to specifically not allow back IEP kids.
So real quick, this is a real issue. So uncovering all this as I'm doing it, I'm rushing through. I had like 6 different staffers in my office. We had policy going through it. We spent hours on this. Yeah. And I'm starting to uncover this. And I go, wait a second, this is really scary. So you mean to tell me that schools that have open enrollment, they theoretically, you can just say, we're not going to accept the kids anymore, just any kids, right? Still collect the same money from the guarantee.
Yeah.
And then not have the students come. I said, I don't think people are out there looking to do that. But I said, that's a really scary thing. I mean, like, I said, you shouldn't.
So they would have kept getting the money?
Yeah, because it's off the guarantee. So they would have gotten pretty much the same amount based up on. Wow. And they see what happens is because of the different fair school funding plan that we put in place, they no longer were receiving as much money as they would have received from open enrollment. And so folks that were on the guarantee would still get the guaranteed amount. And so it's super complicated, but it was one of those things where I'm like, that's something that now I'm going to look into for school districts across the state. Like if you have IEPs, you shouldn't be picking and choosing and cherry picking.
Dude,
and you don't want that to be.
Is their game plan? Is the school board and administration, is their game plan to eliminate
open enrollment in general?
Open enrollment. And if they want to do that, check with your community, and if you want to go in that direction, that's fine. But I think it's going to have to be a situation where it's like,
which you said your kid in school, Canfield, but your kids go to South Range.
Well, it's in the district though.
Okay, okay, you're in the district.
But I will say, what I will say is this: open enrollment was put in place to allow for additional access, and it was kind of more of a school choice type of situation. Yeah. And so it worked out really well from a funding standpoint, but with this fair school funding plan that everybody advocated for, it doesn't necessarily help with the open enrollment process for, for revenue and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's tough, man. You can't run, you're dealing with children here. You're dealing,
That's
like,
the problem,
it's not just a business where you can say we're going to cut this out. My big thing is when you have kids that have been going there from K through 6 or K through 7, you can't just say, okay, well, you don't finish out your junior high, because you live in Boardman. It's like, well, all my friends are here. Well, no, you have to go. So that's where it starts to get really messy, and that's just more of a like put on your you have to have a heart, for your kids.
I talked to Jared because I wanted, like you said, I wanted to make sure everything was straight.
Good guy,
he
by the
felt
way.
terrible.
Yeah, he did. And in full disclosure, he
Yeah.
absolutely did. To the school board members, they're like, listen, we have policies. Like when they were struggling with the legalities
hold
of
on,
it.
Senator. We have
Isaac,
He's state senator out Cutrona.
It's all mine.
What's up, man? It's our daily. We're just talking to Senator Al Cutrona here about we're talking
covering
about
everything.
school funding. We're talking about
Property
everything, man.
taxes.
Property tax. Your tax is too high.
Talk about USPS.
You want to talk about that too? We can do that.
Hey, get on them.
Yeah, buddy.
Joe, mail's here. You're late on your taxes.
Yo, pay your taxes.
Kidding. He pays his taxes. I'm just kidding.
Joe, poor Joe. Sorry that we do that every time he walks
I love
in.
it. I love that.
Every time. So,
I love that.
all right.
I want to talk about the gym bill, but first I want to say Poland sucks. South Range is better, and we have Alcatraz.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But back to that. I just one more time on the touch because I know you covered it yesterday. I just want to say one more time. I am so happy. We were taking a middle approach where we understood where the school was coming from, but those freaking kids, like you said,
it's more of a kids thing. Because I also see from a business standpoint, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. You don't live in a school district, blah blah blah. But you can't do that. It's about the kids. I mean, we're trying to bring kids into the school district,
right,
to raise them up, and then you're not trying to destroy their lives, especially when they're.
Could you imagine being 13-year-old getting pulled out? Yeah,
and then it's like it's literally like moving. It's almost like uprooting your life and going to a new city, a new town, because you don't know anybody there.
Right.
I mean,
I'm so glad.
The benefit of social media. One of the few benefits of social media. South Range was able to communicate between all the people in the community quickly, rally everybody up. You went to the school board meeting, told your leaders what you wanted, and they changed their mind. That's amazing.
It also got out to TikTok. Right. There were a couple big influencers, and then I heard like their people were calling and hammering the school.
Yeah. Al's gotta go soon.
You gotta go, Al.
We got another 15 or so because it doesn't start till 10. So I just want to make sure I get
Jim.
I think Isaac has been waiting to ask you these questions.
I wanted to bring in a bench press and start. While we talk,
are we gonna do chin ups together? Is that what we're gonna do?
Dude, we're gonna do chin ups. We're gonna talk about the bill.
We're gonna do this next time. We're gonna bring in we're gonna do chin ups and like every chin up to like a question.
Right.
Exactly.
That's what I wanted to do, man. But Joe wouldn't let me.
Joe would let us. I wanted to see how many times you could do 225. That was our.
I'd have been struggling. My shoulders would have blown out. I'd be like, help.
How old are you? Are we allowed to? How old?
35.
35. See, he's still young too, though. You guys are on your way down.
But you know what? They already do. I already do. Yeah.
Oh, it's from benches. Like when oh, dude, I do like the machines now because my shoulders hurt so bad from benching.
So what's this? Tell me about this gym bill.
Yeah. So Senate Bill 89. Okay. Great bill. It's an opportunity for everybody to save a little bit of bucks and get healthy at the same time. What it does is it creates $1,500 tax deduction for gym memberships and personal trainers. And in addition to that,
and personal trainers,
because you know what, you need to be able to have an opportunity where people to learn properly. And if they're getting into it for the first time, maybe they have kids that are using it's just a good way to reduce some of the costs associated with it. In addition to that, I also have $100 non-refundable tax credit. So that way everybody can really benefit, with this tax savings at the end of the year.
Is there going to be a limit to that? Like if you make over 100,000, you make over.
No, there's no limit on that. But it's not on the federal level. So federal level, you're going to be able to see.
It's going to be a state.
Yeah, it's going to be a state thing. So on federal taxes, you would save a lot more. Everybody really would.
Yeah,
save.
right.
So that's why not everybody would qualify based off of income to have $1,500 worth of state deductibles.
Yeah,
but most people will qualify and get at least $100.
That's cool.
And if it's a household, like if you're filing married, it'll be $200. So that's a way where, that's going to cover if arguably most people's gym memberships.
I think mine's $100 and some for 6 months. Or something.
Well, the Y. I go to the Y.
Right.
So expensive.
How do you? So you can't make it. The issue is you can't make it too much money back, or else everybody will just go get a membership.
Well, it's not even that. Actually, no, I hope everybody else.
We're gonna need to see everybody's gains.
Yeah, I want to see the gains that you're actually using it. So no, I mean, listen, I would say to the contrary. Look, the more people that are saying fit, that would be great, because right now Ohio is in the top 5 states of obesity.
Right.
We have, it's like 2 out of 5. People are struggling with obesity. So we need to do what we can to get people to be healthier, make lifestyle changes. And if you make lifestyle changes, you can avoid pharmaceuticals. A lot of these things are just health related, and they need to make these lifestyle changes. Now, that being said, what you don't want to encourage is just like, hey, we'll give you a bunch of dollars for membership, and then they just increase the fees on that. That doesn't benefit anybody. Now, what I really would like to have done a remove sales tax on it. That way you get immediate savings that moment. Problem is, the legislature fights you tooth and nail with doing sales tax, reducing their state revenue from the general revenue fund. So this is kind of my way of saying, okay, let's take a little bit more of a fiscal approach, still get some benefits for it. Hopefully I get this into the state operating budget to kind of give some people some relief. And then I'll go back later on and try to get the sales tax.
You think it's going to pass?
I think it's got a lot of excitement behind it, and it's got a ton of support. I didn't expect for it to. I just was like, "Hey, this is a really good idea," and then it just took off. I got calls nationally, people were just reaching out.
If you eliminate sales tax, what stops the companies from just being like, "Oh, okay, cool, we saved some money."
That's the problem.
We'll just keep it and keep your.
Well, I think they could definitely do that, right? But I don't think most companies are going to operate like that, because at the end of the day, if you say, "Oh, well, you're saving $50, I'm just going to charge you an extra $50," people are just going to go like, "Eh."
Right.
Yeah, right.
And then they could also just go across the street, and so you still create a competitive market. I mean, look, we don't charge sales tax on food. When you go to the grocery stores, you're not seeing it like an increase if we had it or didn't have it. So I don't know if you would necessarily see that, but you will see savings in live time.
Looking at my cheat sheet here.
I forget what my other one was. There was another question.
Well, you were going to ask him how many times you could do 225, but
no.
That was legitimately a topic.
That was 225. You must have thought I was bigger than I am.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. 3% of gym goers, only 3% of gym goers can do 225 for one.
Really?
Yeah. 3% of gym goers. That's a very small amount of people.
That makes me feel better about myself.
Right. Yeah. So if you could go to the gym, getting in the gym is good. That's the most important thing. 3%, only 97% of people that go to the gym.
I guess. Well, you got to think about the people.
2 plates on the bench.
You got to think about how many people, like the old, like the silver sneakers.
So just go to the.
But gym. That's going to the gym.
Right.
If you take the numbers and said everybody, it's like you're a top 1%. Yeah. It's crazy.
So just go to the gym. Don't let the influencers on social media.
Here's a good one. I know we will. Okay. Switch. Success. I could call it success because that's one of the topics on it. The success sequence, Bill.
Yeah.
3 rules, right?
3 rules, 3 principles.
I don't know what that is. Explain it.
Yeah. So real quick, before I even get into that, the success sequence is something that is comes from a huge data surplus. And what they did is they did a study for millennials. And it started back in '97, and they've been tracking these kids that participated in the program. And what they found is that there is a 97% likelihood of avoiding poverty in adulthood.
If you do these 3
things. You do these 3 things. Number 1, you graduate with at least a high school diploma.
Got it.
At least that. You have a full-time job, and you marry before having kids. If you follow those 3 things, you have a 97% chance of not being in poverty. Now, I will tell you this. This is by no means an attack on anybody if they don't follow these steps.
Right.
You can not follow every single step and still, not be in poverty.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But I feel like these stats were mind blowing. I don't do a whole lot of education legislation.
Okay.
I introduced this because I was shocked by the numbers. And it goes across even if you include different ethnicities, all that. I mean, it doesn't change. It's like 96%, 95%. Like they've broken it down and it's so detailed by following those 3 things. Now, I say, let's weave this into our curriculum with local support. That means we would include parents in the process. That means we include local school board members, the Department of Education and Workforce, and create a curriculum that can be woven into already existing things. So we already do things for financial literacy, right? We mandate that, we require that. this is tied into financial literacy. We want to prepare students with the opportunity to have workforce development. We want to be able to include all of those things so we can weave that into already existing stuff that we're doing. We're not creating an entire course on this. It may be something that's very short that you kind of you can work into it. Now, at the end of it, people will say, well, and I think everyone's big hang up is they don't care about the first two. They're like, that's great. What about the second part or the third part, which is saying, marry before having kids? This isn't me saying or promoting one way or the other. I want to give kids the resources to make the best decisions going forward. The stats don't lie.
Right.
Show the statistics and allow that to lead the way. I mean, I think that to me is mind-blowing. And we used to do this anyways. Like, do you guys remember when you used to have the little baby you used to walk around with in school?
We had like
the egg. You're right.
Yeah.
So we would do that already in school. That could be one of those portions, right? I mean, obviously there's more obstacles if you're having kids while in high school than if you don't, right? So it's just ways to prepare students. And listen, everybody's situation is different. All right. Not everybody has somebody in their life that can guide them on these three principles.
Right.
And that's where that's who we're really trying to address and to educate and let them make the decisions. That way we're preparing kids to be the best that they can be, make the decisions they can make. Obviously, it's going to be something that's going to be age appropriate between the materials that are utilized.
Right.
And we want to have local opinion behind it. I mean, we're not just trying to
it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense to me to graduate, get a job, don't have kids. Like
work full-time job.
As a father of 3 under 13, and I have a Phantoms player staying with me.
Yeah.
That's 19.
Yeah.
Kids are expensive. Know this.
Very expensive.
They're super, super expensive. And saying that in a class, you're not forcing them to do that or anything.
No.
You're just explaining. I think that is
statistics, but I feel like it's always kind of been in the system where it's like, don't have kids before marriage. Like that's always been a thing. Everybody always says that.
But where'd you go to school?
South Range.
All right.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what was kind of talked about there. But can you say that about everywhere across the state? Because you got to remember, I'm not just legislating for, Canfield, or Boardman. We're trying to do something across. So Youngstown, for example, Youngstown proper has got some of the highest rates in the state where you have, kind of that, children before marriage.
Yeah.
And so those stats are through the roof and it correlates accordingly with poverty rate. And so Youngstown has the highest amount. So, it's something that we want to include. We want to incorporate. We want to be able to have that opportunity. And so people are like, well, you're forcing an agenda. You're trying to make this about religion. I said, not at all. To the contrary, I said it would be an injustice to students and children to pretend like these stats don't exist.
Right.
And these are from both left-leaning and right-leaning think tanks that have come up with this. Yeah. Mind-blowing, 97%.
It's not about religion. It's not about politics. It's about statistics.
I wonder the people,
and it's about the kids.
I want to know the people who are challenging that third one about marriage have kids. Out
of wedlock.
No, just have kids in general.
Yeah.
I want to know if somebody's saying, how dare you bringing religion, that I'll guarantee most of them don't have children.
And what I would argue
that's my call.
When they say, oh, it's about right-wing politics, I would say that's obviously not the case because Elon Musk has 12 kids and he's not married.
Yeah. There you go. Well, and he's probably financially one of the most successful people, right?
All kinds of kids out of there.
And listen, I mean, like I said, I mean, we all know people, myself, not everybody has followed every single step,
right?
And has been very successful. I'm just saying that, everybody's situation is different.
Right.
And so it's important to at least provide those stats out there. And that's part of the requirement in the bill is that it has to be evidentiary, proven, statistical information. This is not just some pulling it out of this isn't something I just made up and hey, this is a great idea. No, this is something that's already been proven and the data proves this.
Yeah. And what's amazing to me is you think about kids not being told that. Right.
Yeah.
Our parents, I mean,
our mom was a nursing professor.
So it was
nice. She was it was open book talking about
don't you dare
open book
bring home a kid. You know what I mean? Keep your thing away from the, you know what I mean? It was 100%.
And probably talking about books, you guys, I know you wanted to chat about my my library bill that I had last year.
Are you a book burner?
Are we getting rid of Harry Potter?
Are you burning
the Hobbit? Are you Lord of the Rings?
You just see me with a gas can.
I am not kidding you. The second I said you were coming on, we had 3 people.
Oh my god!
He's a book burner.
That episode is coming for my precious Harry Potter.
Oh my gosh! Listen, It is so crazy to me, the amount of bills that you can introduce and the language is clear as day. And then just something gets put out there and it becomes a talking point because like an election's coming up or like, you know, even like my success sequence, people are like, oh my gosh, he's forcing this. I'm like, did you guys read the bill? Like it's only 2 pages, you know, did you?
Yeah.
So in this case, look, the answer is no. There's not a single book that would be taken out of the library that's already there or any future ones. All it is saying is that you should not have explicit pornographic.
Isn't it already like that?
No, that's the thing.
There's explicit pornographic material in the library?
It's out there. It can be placed out there with no discretion on who checks it out and where it's placed. So right now, I've gotten countless books.
In school libraries or in
no. It's public libraries. So this has nothing to do with school libraries. It's public libraries only. So what I don't want and what people don't really want is that their 5 or 6 year old goes to their kids section and then there are explicit materials looking at them in their face. All I'm saying is that you should take those books that are adult books or mature books and place them in a different section of the library. Put them and cover them.
I think that's fair.
Put them and cover them. Put them behind the circulation. You have a lot of options that are out there. None of the books are going to be out of there. All we're saying is that if a youngster wants to take it out, a parent should have to check it out. This is not like some radical approach. It's a very reasonable approach because what we're trying to avoid, right, is sending your kids to a safe place.
Yeah.
And them then having right, like I mean that's like and a lot of people are like, well, that doesn't happen, that's not happening. I'm like, okay, first of all, I've got countless on my phone people sending me these books saying this is at this library or that library, and then why are the libraries so opposed to this if they don't have the material? If they don't have the material, nothing to worry about. So long story short, all the bill says is that you take this material, make sure that it's in a safe location. You can cover it up, whatever you have to do, but make sure that it's out of the way of children. And if you're, if you're a youngster, you're going to have a parent sign off on it.
We have a call,
so my interpretation
and then real quick, there was a funding tied to it. So, where if you choose to say, we don't want to do any of these things, then that's fine. Then, you're not going to get taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. We got to get this. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just strap in. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello,
Al. I can vouch that Luke would go to the library and then go up to his room and stay in his room and read books. And his mother would have to
Dad, I can see.
As they were bad books.
Pop, why are you harassing me in front of my new friend?
Luke had the library.
That's our dad, by the way.
Luke had the library. I was putting viruses on your computer, baby.
Oh, jeez.
I was like, well, there goes my career.
There you go.
It's like, okay, gotta go.
It was great being a senator.
He was such a great reader. He was such a great reader. It was unbelievable. How much he read.
Pop would be like, why isn't my computer working?
This is so crazy. Thanks for calling, Dad.
Thanks for calling, Pop.
So
no, my counter.
Goodbye.
My counter would be less rules are still better because what if you have a crazy religious librarian that says, hey, Harry Potter's witchcraft. Harry Potter's witchcraft. I don't want him in the school in the kids section, and I'm going to take him over here.
So real quick, I would say this. Excellent question. And I specifically didn't want that to happen on either side, whoever the librarian is, right?
Right.
So that's why it's already built into it, the bill. So that it's in the language. So basically what the bill would allow for is that, say, for example, there is a book that is of concern, right? People raise it. It goes to a commission that will look, evaluate it, send back and say, okay, yes, no. But the language that I use is already existing law.
Okay.
So it's the same reason that, when you used to go to a gas station and there'd be those magazines that they would be covered. But that's because those were explicit material. The Ohio Revised Code already dictates what is in there. So there has to be absolutely no artistic or cultural reasoning. There's a whole list of it. I could text you guys the ORC. Cool. It's just too much for me to kind of go on.
We're going to the National Geographic and looking at the in the tribe.
What's wrong? What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I don't know what part of the library you're going to.
What is wrong with
I remember doing that. Watching National Geographic.
I'm sorry, Senator.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. So
I'm just saying. It happens.
So the point though is that what we're trying to just do is we're trying to take reasonable approaches because the material that has gotten out of control, and it's not about a Harry Potter book,
Right.
It's not about a biology book or a National Geographic. What we're talking about is like stuff that is like your very, very explicit, pornographic, cusp line,
I
like
can
type
remember in eighth
cut-
grade, I read a Stephen King book, and it got dirty, and I was like,
Right.
whoa,
Yeah.
like you know what I mean?
But those aren't necessarily. But let me ask you.
Like I'm not saying violent, I'm saying sex.
No, I get what you're
Yeah,
saying. Let me ask you this though: was that ever in the where your your Dr. Seuss books were?
Yeah, no, yeah, right. That's the
That's
difference,
the
right.
point. That's the point. Like, and so if you see, and it usually happens a couple times throughout the year, and they'll put these books out on display, and I get blown up by constituents, not just here.
Who's doing that? Like,
Who's putting them out?
Yeah.
The library is.
Yeah.
And so people are literally taking photos and they're going like, this is ridiculous. So then you end up having a movement they'll go out, and I mean, I get it. They'll check the books out
And
just,
never could bring them back.
well, they'll bring them back,
Yeah.
but they'll check them out. And then, and then all of a sudden they decide to put them away. So
You got to go though, dude. Don't you?
I got another
Yeah.
5. Got another 5.
It's
It's
fashionably late.
well,
sir.
right.
It's
cool. You gotta walk in.
I gotta make a scene,
Yeah.
I gotta make a scene.
This is, oh boy. House introduces budget plan 129,905. Can you talk about potential Medicaid cuts in Ohio? Anything about
Yeah,
that?
great question. Very loaded.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say
it's
a trap
no,
there.
no, it isn't. So part of it's loaded because, and it's hard for me to actually speak on it because a lot of this is tied to the feds. So a lot of people don't realize our budget is very big. I'm a very huge supporter of Medicaid because I think that there's a lot of benefits that are tied to it and actually saves the state money, even though you're spending money. And I can get into that on a whole healthcare basis at a later time. Maybe you guys have me back on the
we'll have
show.
you back on for sure.
But because we're so tied to the feds and they do match dollars, we're kind of in limbo with what's going on with the federal level on that. In regards to Medicaid itself, the House provided its first version of it, and it's just and actually today, Friday, is the last little bit. They're going to come up with an omnibus bill that'll have some changes to it. So that'll be coming. It hasn't even reached the Senate. They haven't voted on it yet, so I don't quite exactly know. We're still going through the comp doc. So like I talked about, a lot of pages. There's like 6,000 pages right now.
Good.
And so we're like literally, I'm spending my time going through it. It just got dropped, and I know it's about to change probably on Monday or Tuesday, and so I got to like check those over. But Medicaid right now, I think that there has been some changes. I think the governor put some in there as well. So you have kind of two budgets you're talking about. It's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about specific Medicaid, I could look into that and get back. But
yeah,
it's because it's a real concern. My issue is with Medicaid cuts, it affects everybody. Because I mean, a lot of people don't realize on the healthcare side of it, like the elderly utilize that.
Medicare,
Medicaid, well, Medicare, but Medicaid and Medicaid specifically. You need those dollars to keep afloat. And so if you don't have that, they end up going to the hospital, and they go to the hospital. Guess what? You're paying for it anyways. And if you're paying for it anyways, there's a facility fee. So it becomes more expensive for the state to handle, not including the fact that, these are people that, you care about them. You want them to have the best help that they can and not be sending people to the hospital.
When we talk about something like that, and again, not to totally say, how are you about responding to people? Like if they call, like I called your office, they picked up as soon as I called.
So I try to make myself super accessible all the time. I literally put my cell phone on my business card.
Do you really?
Yeah. And like no one was like, what do you, I got 2 cards. I give this card to them.
A lot of people won't do it.
Yeah.
They'll have 2 cards. I see legislators do this. They give 1 card because if they're like, oh, this is somebody that's worth talking to. Here's my cell phone. And then somebody else will like, here's this one. It's like, just their name. It's like no email. It's like yeah.
Right.
So no, I put it all out there because I actually do care and want to listen to my constituents. So when people call to the office, my office is pretty good about getting back on the calls. Emails are by far the best.
Okay.
I always feel so bad for the constituents though, because when there's like big bills that are going through, I'll get swarmed with like tens of thousands of calls across the country sometimes around the state.
Okay.
And so they kind of blow up the mailbox or the voicemails. And so it takes a while to kind of feed through.
Emails better.
Email's better. We can kind of get through those much easier. But honestly, if somebody's trying to get a hold of me, once they reach out to let them know that they're a constituent, I'll call them back.
There you go.
I tell everybody I have a 2.5 hour window drive down. I got nothing but windshield time.
there you go.
So I make the calls down. I make them on the way back, and I usually try to make myself pretty responsive.
I tagged him on Facebook. He immediately it was like. Right. I was impressed. It was like an hour later. I was like, we're never going to hear from this guy.
Well, actually, it was funny because my staff actually, they flagged it because they were like, oh, it's media request. Yeah. And then they're like, hey, like, I don't know what this is, but
you've known.
I met you at the parade.
Yeah, you did.
Well, he wanted to come on our show originally. We totally kind of fluffed him off and did
I don't like talking.
I gotta dumb myself down. I can barely talk about.
Listen, just remember, I'm not true.
Is that Wooly just walked by?
Congressman?
Congressman! Come here.
My backup's here. My backup's here.
Set up. Sneaking what's up.
My backup's here. He was watching this. He was watching the show and he was getting worried. He brought my backup. I had a text. I texted him.
Is that rolling?
Congressman.
How you doing, man?
You're doing good.
What a great night.
Good night.
Dude, I was like, is that freaking real?
Are you going to
the thing?
The property tax thing? Is that what you're?
Well, I got that. I got to go see John too.
He's a busy man. It's Congressman. It's Congressman.
I stay in town like in 10 days. Cutrona's like, you better be moving your butt around.
Why did I think
that's wild? Totally wild.
That's great. How you guys doing?
We're good, man. We're good.
You know those turkeys you gave away? Was that crazy?
That was crazy.
That's a good
I
time.
came up on my memory a little while ago.
So listen, we're doing a show now in the mornings.
All right.
I'll reach out to you. Come on.
You're invited whenever you want.
I can't follow up on him, man. I love
You're too busy with the state stuff, though.
Yeah.
Like, aren't you super? You got to be super busy.
Oh yeah. We got
Federal, with federal
Yeah,
stuff.
federal
that
stuff.
big,
I'm sorry, not
beautiful
state
bill
federal.
going on. You know about that?
Which
right?
one?
The big one he talks about is like a $5 trillion bill.
Oh, we'll go, why don't we have you on sometime? I'll go reach out to the
I'm
people.
available.
All right, we'll have
I'm
you on.
available. Al Cutrona, man.
I love you, really. I love that guy.
That was the most random thing. I was like,
Not playing, guys. Just so you know, I actually didn't call him. He just happened to like.
He comes through like a tornado.
I always ask him, right? Like, so I was in the House, he's in the Senate, right? And like, he's just like always got energy, and like, I would, and I would a lot of times I would just be dragging because it's like long night, and the house is just like a lot. And he's just like all this energy. He's always got this. He's got his Dunkin' Donuts. I'm like, dude, what's in there, man? I need some of that.
He helped us hand out turkeys in Poland to families in need a couple of
during
years
COVID.
And I'm dressed up as
awesome.
a turkey, and me and Ruli are screaming, flagging down.
He's
Yeah.
like,
Go get a turkey.
running around with
Yeah,
that.
I'm like running
dude,
up and down.
I can't keep up.
he's keeping
We're
up with
hyper,
us.
and I'm like, we can't keep up with
I
that.
can't believe it. Yeah.
Well, all right. So you got to go.
I do have to run.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, guys.
We'll
Thanks
go
so
over
much.
to. Let's keep going live here.
Yeah,
for a
we'll
little
go. We'll bring Joe up in just a second.
All right.
Hey,
Thanks.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll have you back on, man.
It's you, bro.
Oh, all right. We'll see you later. Let's keep going. You want to go for a little bit?
Yeah, let's talk about what.
back on, guys.
We will. We'll call you. All right. Well, he is definitely a little shorter than me. There we go. There. That's right. Okay. All right, dude. That was insane. Did you see Ruli was here?
That's wild.
Sit down, Joe. You can sit. You can get on the camera today. Are you busy?
Yeah, fix your camera.
Oh, whoa! That
Fix
look
your,
at.
you do your thing. We'll talk.
We're gonna keep talking a little bit here,
Joe's
and
gonna
then
adjust the cameras.
Joe's gonna fix the cameras.
All right. What do you think about what he said?
I like it all.
Yeah.
What do you think? I think I like hearing why they're doing stuff because most of the time on Facebook you hear they're doing this, they're doing this, they're doing this, and you don't hear the reasoning behind it. Like the library thing.
Yeah.
I had people, he's a book burner.
Right.
But he's not really a book burner. He's trying to.
The other thing too is you see on social media, right? You see the people on the internet always try and make it black and white, right?
Right.
You're on my side.
Line in the sand. We talk about
you're
that.
on my
Tribalism,
side,
dude.
and
Yep.
you're a bad person.
Yep.
And
Sorry,
it
Joe.
just goes to show
Sorry, Joe.
it's way more complicated than that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these topics are way more complicated than the average person. wants
Okay,
it.
Jennifer, we're gonna get him in here, and you have my word. I'll get Ruli in here, and we're gonna ask him: is he responding to his constituents?
Well, see, the conversation you guys had with them, I feel like that's what every town hall should feel like, rather than it being just talking points from
Should
two
be a
people.
conversation.
Correct.
Absolutely. I
Yes.
got a greater understanding just with that quick interview. That
Yeah,
you guys had that
yeah,
I haven't
45
been
minutes.
leading into this.
Right. Yeah,
But
and that's
the
what we
problem
need.
is you could sit here for hours and answer questions though. So it's almost like you need to They need to be better at, okay, I need to get involved in the community and have conversations like that and record it and do it once.
We should have brought up. Why doesn't he stream live and explain why he's doing stuff?
Right.
Why don't you go live and explain what you're doing?
Yeah. Do like
you guys,
chat, man.
You guys were curious how it actually works. At a town hall, somebody just throws a grenade at you, and so you have to defend grenade incomings. People aren't really curious because they don't want it to work.
They don't want it to work.
Exactly.
I want to know the reasoning and the thinking process behind each bill of why they're doing it, right? Because I understand it's coming from a certain point of view, right? And there's a reason why they're doing it. Like you said, I don't think anybody does that anymore, where it's like, okay, Isaac thinks this. Why are you thinking this way? What is your reasoning behind it? Is that what you're saying, right?
Absolutely.
And that's all I want to know.
When we put politicians and we want to make them into the villain, like we want it to be nefarious reasons. But when he was explaining himself, this isn't, an ultra right person that's trying to inflict religion in whatever.
Right.
That's what he's accused of.
Right.
But after hearing it, it's like, oh, it's a mathematical pursuit here, and they're taking different ideas, and it's a lot more. I have a lot more respect for politicians when they talk.
When they talk like it, but the problem is, like you said, when you do like the town halls, they're just firing out their points and they're reading from a script.
It'd be better if, honestly, having us as third parties, having somebody who's super upset go and throw that grenade. It doesn't matter what Cutrona says. If they they personally will try and destroy him on the stand, no matter what.
Right.
Because it's like, no, you're a piece of shit.
And you got to understand who's going to go to those open town halls. It's going to be people, true huge supporters and his enemies. That's it. That aren't going to listen to either way he goes any direction. That makes sense.
And I'll happily, if you're pissed and you have a point you want to talk about, and you want him to talk about it, we'll ask him that question and say, hey, this is.
I'll invite him back on. That was good.
This is a big
that was
issue,
real good.
And what do you have to say about that? And I'm not gonna freaking sit here and grill him if that's what you want me to, like, try and destroy his character if that's what you want me to do. But I'll get his response to that, and you can vote accordingly. You know, so
well, and that's what politicians do. They think they're doing right by giving the stump speech and talking points and whatever. And all it does is fuel that kind of discontent.
Right.
But when you have a conversation like you guys had, there's more information that comes out of that. And if you're reasonable and you can be objective, you can get a lot out of it.
Objective is the word. Objective is the word.
When he first came in, he didn't want to go very long, and then once we started talking, he's like, all right, these guys are cool. Like
you think he was trying?
His walls.
Oh, his dropped
for sure.
Especially when you started talking about
National Geographic.
National Geographic wrecking Dad's computer with porn viruses.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that's more of an issue. That's
great job.
That's more of an issue than libraries are anyway.
And that's not an entry, but I am going to add that.
So said.
Yeah, why do the libraries matter when kids I can look up boobies?
I mean, that's a fact. That is the truth too.
Who cares about the libraries? Like,
did you know certain states ban you can't?
Florida, you got to put your driver's license in, like, bro,
to get on the Pornhub and stuff.
I don't want the state of Florida knowing the weird stuff I look up on the internet. My God, you have to put my driver's license in?
Isaac's like National Geographic. National Geographic.
You guys remember that?
Yes.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Part of the library. You're like, oh, yeah.
Joe, wait, how old are you?
I'm 49.
Okay, so Joe remembers. This is before you. Joe remembers the fuzz on like Cinemax and Showtime. The fuzz through the thing. See, Joe knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, and you used to be able to get this little filter to get Cinemax. It wasn't great, but at least
dude, that is the absolute success of Theo Vaughn. Did you see Theo Vaughn sit down with Trump? He's talking about like with JD Vance.
Okay.
He's talking about like doing cocaine. Vance is like, bro. But JD Vance's mom was a drug addict.
Right.
Drug addict. So he's talking about this stuff, and they're like,
so,
you have to follow through with that. But it's great because it's like they're still people.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's freaking real. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't want us to ever be the ones that are dressing up in a shirt and tie to enter. Like I thought this was good. You know what I mean? It's like I want to have real conversations with these people.
Tell the start. He's like, I only got 30 minutes, boys. We got to make this quick.
And he was good.
He stayed for the whole hour.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's good.
Bring down the wall, man. Politicians who don't do that, those are the ones I don't trust.
Right, where they put up a wall. Like when we interviewed Tito. Remember Tito?
He would not. I tried so hard to get him to relax, and he still always reverted back to that wall being up and not
right. And we've interviewed other guys in the past. Ruley was one that would let the walls down big time. He's a freaking the commissioner, Traficani.
Yeah.
He was playing his
Yeah,
guitar.
Playing his guitar during COVID. Yeah.
I mean, this is what we want to do, and I'm sure some people are gonna be like, "Oh, you were throwing him softball questions."
And I would love
Yeah.
it. And don't try and come at us and say, "Oh, you have Rulli on there, you have Al Cutrona, you guys are Republicans."
I'll invite Democrats.
Whoever.
Let's
wants
get
to
some.
come on, I would happily talk to them.
Is McNally? She's a Democrat, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You McNally. We won't do it soon. Let's do it in a couple weeks.
Right.
McNally, we'll invite her. She's our other rep,
Yeah.
and we'll invite her on and see if she'll come on. I bet you come on.
She's
So
on a
Democrat.
Friday
Let's
at 9 a.m.
let's do it. You guys cool with everybody? Cool with that? Well, thanks. That was fun.
It was really cool.
I'm glad we did that.
Yeah.
I was kind of complaining about coming in an extra day.
Get my gym membership cheaper.
Seriously.
I'm in.
All right. So everybody, don't forget we're loan officers and realtors. If you need us to finance a home, buy a home, sell a home, whatever, give us a call. We'd
And
love to
if
help.
you haven't already, go down below, give us a like, give us a follow. MLO Bros, follow Youngstown Studio.
330 Sports Show. You can follow
330
Justin.
Show. Call Joe if you want to do your own podcast and complain about how bad we are as podcasters.
You still looking for like left leaning people, right?
Oh, heck yeah.
We'd love to have a show like I'm not gonna lie, we kind of lean right. We but on certain topics like the
I'm
weed
in the
stuff.
middle, man. I'm taking the political. I am
That's
down the middle.
that's how I think I am too. Because like weed,
right.
gay marriage, I don't like.
I don't want to tell me how many pot plants
Right.
I can have.
Right.
Because that's the thing. Like I said with wine, you
Yeah.
can make all kinds of wine and give it out to your family.
Yeah.
What if I don't want to do that with weed?
Right.
I'd
rather do your own thing. I think fiscally, I think I'm more conservative. I would say like from that kind of point, but I think you are too, right?
Yes, correct.
But other than that, I think we're pretty. I took that test. I was like left,
Were you-
like not hard left. I was
Right.
left, but nobody believes me when I say that.
But thank you all. Thank you all so much for watching. We appreciate you. We will see you next Tuesday. We're back in the studio. This was a special thing on Friday, but Tuesday, Thursday next week, we'll see you. Thank you all so much for watching, and call us if you need us. We'll see you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook.